Hi guys, welcome to my channel Creatively Expressive. My name is Amy and today I'm going to be using a set of winter themed rub-on transfers that was sent to me by Essential Stencils to make 5 different beautiful Christmas DIYs. If that sounds like something that's interesting to you, then please stick around. For all 5 projects, I will be using rub-on transfers from this wintertime set that was sent to me by Essential Stencils. For project number 1, I will be using this mistletoe transfer from the set and this rectangular blank sign that I found at Goodwill. The first thing I am going to do is make a faux wood stain by mixing the paint color Burnt Umber with water. I am going to tape off the inside of the sign first, and then I am going to use that faux wood stain to stain the frame on this sign. To stain the frame in the back of the sign with this paint stain, all I need to do is paint it on the same way I would with regular paint. But since it's watered down, it will allow the wood grain to show through like a wood stain would. The nice thing about the faux stain though is that it dries quicker. Then I taped off the frame and I am going to paint the sign area with the color Ivory chalk paint. When the ivory paint is dry, I am going to apply the rub-on transfer. To apply it, I remove the back sheet and I place it where I want it on the sign. Then I am going to use this burnishing tool that I also got from Essential Stencils, and I rub it over the carrier sheet. As I am rubbing the transfer, I am going to slowly lift the carrier sheet. If I have missed transferring any of the spots, I can simply press the carrier sheet back down and rub over that area again. After applying my transfer, I went into Silhouette Design Studio and I designed this decal to fit on my sign, and then I cut it out with my silhouette on brown vinyl. I will use transfer tape and parchment paper to get the decal centered and stuck on my sign. Once I am happy with the placement, I remove the parchment paper and burnish the vinyl decal onto the sign. When I was weeding the decal, I accidentally cut part of the T off. So to fix that, I recut the T and I cut the part off that I needed, and I will just piece it together with the T on the sign, and you won't even be able to tell that I messed it up. Once I have done that, this project is complete. For project number 2, I am using this wood platter that I got from Hobby Lobby for 50% off. The platter has some scuff marks on it, so I will use a fine grit sandpaper to sand those scuffs off. Then I chose these transfers from the set to form a kind of a wreath around the inner circle on the platter. I thought I was recording when I transferred the first 3 transfers, but I guess I forgot to hit the record button. But I'll show you how I transferred the remaining pieces. But first I am going to apply this decal that I made and cut out with my silhouette on the same brown vinyl that I used in project number 1. Again, I used the parchment paper to help me place the decal before sticking it on. I leave a spot on the transfer tape exposed, and then when I am happy with the placement, I press the exposed tape to the sign, and then I remove the parchment paper and press the rest of the decal down. Now I'm going to apply the bottom transfer to the platter. I remove the backing sheet and then place it on the platter. Then I use the burnishing tool to rub the transfer on the sign, slowly lifting the carrier sheet as I go. Then I will add in a few more of the smaller transfer pieces to fill in some of the blank space. Once I have all the pieces I want added to the wreath, this project is complete. And I just love how quick and easy it is to make a beautiful and stunning piece using these transfers. For project number 3, I'm using this little robin wreath and red bow transfer. I will also be using this wood hanging sign that I got from Dollar Tree. I want to brighten up the wood sign, so I'm going to paint it using the ivory chalk paint. I want the sign to look a little distressed, so I'm making sure to leave some of that original brown showing through at the edges of the sign. Now that the paint is dry, I'm going to apply the rub-on transfer to the center square on the hanging sign. Since this sign has grooves in it, I am going to first rub over the entire transfer with the burnishing tool. And then before I start trying to remove the carrier sheet, I'm going to cut it with the X-Acto knife over the areas with the grooves. The spots of the transfer over the grooves don't have anything to stick to, so cutting those spots out with the X-Acto knife will make it easier to remove the carrier sheet without peeling up some of the transfer. Now, instead of peeling up one single carrier sheet piece, I will peel up 3. Once I have the main wreath piece applied, I will add the bow to the bottom center of the wreath. Then I will cut out a J and a Y on stencil vinyl with my silhouette. First, I am going to apply the Y stencil below the wreath. And at this point, I realized I accidentally made my sign upside down, but I will fix that later. Now above the wreath, I am going to apply the J. The wreath will serve as the O, so that the sign spells out the word joy. Now I'm going to paint another layer of ivory paint over my stencil first to seal in the edges of the stencil. When the ivory paint is dry, I will paint over the stencils with Cafe Noir chalk paint. When the paint is dry, I start peeling up the stencil, but the paint is trying to peel up with the stencil. So to try to help with that, I run the X-Acto knife along the edge of the stencil to help me get started. And then I carefully remove the rest of the stencil. And now that I have both stencils removed, this project would be complete if I didn't accidentally make it upside down. So to fix that, I'm going to cut off the hanger and put it on the opposite end of the sign. Since I don't have any staples thin enough for this sign, I am going to hot glue the hanger on. First, I'm going to mark where I want to glue the hanger. And then I will add hot glue and stick the jute into the hot glue. Then I will add more hot glue on top of the jute and then stick a small piece of felt over the hot glue and the jute. And now that I have fixed my sign, this project is complete. For project number 4, I will be making some more faux wood stain with burnt umber paint and water. Then I will use it to stain the border around the edges of the center area and the back of this wooden tag that I got from Walmart. When the faux wood stain is dry, I will tape off the frame on the tag and then I will paint the center area of the tag with ivory chalk paint. And like with the last project, I will be leaving some of the brown around the edges peeking through to add a distressed look. Then I cut out this little saying on stencil vinyl with my silhouette, and I chose these 2 holly leaf transfers from the set to use for this tag. I'm going to apply the smaller holly leaves to the bottom left corner. Then before I apply the second transfer, I'm going to apply my stencil. I wasn't sure if the sticky stencil would hurt the rub-on transfer, so I'm just placing some parchment paper over the top of the areas where the stencil touches the transfer. Now that I have the stencil applied to the tag, I'm going to paint over it with the color Cafe Noir chalk paint. When the paint is dry, I start peeling up the stencil, and unfortunately, the paint started to peel up with the stencil. I'm not sure why this happens. Sometimes my stencils peel up perfectly, and other times the paint wants to come up with the stencil, and I have no idea why. I was not happy with the way it looks, so I decided to cut out the same saying on brown vinyl. And I really don't know why I didn't think to do this in the first place, since I had already used the brown vinyl in projects number 1 and 2. So now my plan is to try to apply the vinyl wording directly over the painted wording. This looks a lot better. The only thing I'm not crazy about is how the C and H kind of get lost in the holly leaves. But I can't change it at this point, so I'm just going to go with it. So now I'm going to apply the second holly transfer to the top right corner. The transfer overlaps the hole in the tag, so before removing the carrier sheet, I'm going to cut out that area with an X-Acto knife. And then I'm going to carefully remove the carrier sheet. I accidentally got some of the transfer on the tag border, so I'm just going to sand that off and then restain the entire border. Now I'm going to use that faux wood stain to stain 4 wooden beads. Then I'm going to use the color Arbor Green to create a green stain by watering it down like I did with the brown paint. And then I will stain 4 beads with the green stain. Then I'm going to make a faux red stain and stain another 4 beads with that red color. Then I will make a faux ivory stain and stain the last 4 beads with that color. Now that all the beads are dry, I'm going to string them onto some jute twine, alternating the colors. Before adding the last 2 beads, I'm going to tie the twine with the beads on it into a ring. I'm going to string the 2 ends of twine through the last 2 beads, making a loop bead garland. And then I will tie the bead garland to the tag. I like to wrap and hot glue some of the tails around the knot to make it bigger. I just add tiny amounts of glue to the knot and then wrap the twine tails around it until I like the size of the knot. Then I forgot to do this with the first tail, but what I usually do is string the tails through some of the beads on the garland and glue it down before cutting off the rest of the tail, which I remembered to do with the second tail. Once I have done that, this project is complete. For the last project, I'm using this pretty rose transfer and this blank wood sign that I got from the Dollar Tree. I also cut out this wording from the song Oh Holy Night on brown vinyl with my silhouette. So the first thing I'm going to do is apply the rub-on transfer to the left-hand side of the sign. I remove the backing sheet and then I stick the transfer to the sign. Then I take the burnishing tool and I rub it over the entire transfer. Since this sign has grooves in it, I will take an X-Acto knife and cut the carrier sheet above the areas with the grooves. This will cut my transfer into 4 pieces and give me 4 pieces of carrier sheet to remove. As I'm lifting up the carrier sheet, I am continuing to rub over it to make sure all areas of the transfer have transferred to the sign. Now that I have applied my transfer, I decided to cut my vinyl decal into sections to make it easier to apply to the sign since it has those grooves in it. I'm going to put a Thrill Of in the top section, Hope in the second section, and the Weary World in the third section. I wasn't able to fit the word Rejoices in the bottom section, so I decided to cut it in half and apply the top half to the third section and then the bottom half to the bottom section of the sign. I put the bottom half on the sign first, lining up the top of it with the groove on the sign. Then when I went to apply the top half, I realized the top half of the words were not lining up correctly with the bottom half. So I decided to cut each letter apart and separately line up each one with their bottom half. And now that the hard part is over, I can apply the rest of the wording to the sign. The Y in weary wasn't cooperating with me when I was weeding, so I just stuck it onto a separate piece of transfer tape. And then I stuck it in place after I had the rest of the words stuck onto the sign. Now I'm going to remove the beaded hanger and stain the beads with the 4 colors of faux stain that I used on the beads in the last project. To make staining them easier, I put them on a bamboo skewer and separate each one with a piece of masking tape. There are 8 beads on the hanger and I have 4 colors, so I'm going to stain 2 beads in each color. When the beads are dry, I will string them back onto the hanger and hot glue the hanger to the back of the sign, covering the hot glue with a small piece of felt. I thought I was done, but the hanger was too long for my liking, so I removed one side of the hanger, cut it shorter, and then re-glued it to the sign. And once I have done that, this project is complete. I just want to say thank you to Essential Stencils for sending me this set. I love how I was able to make so many beautiful projects so quickly with just one set. And I actually could have made more because I still have some transfers left. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope it's inspired you. If you did enjoy the DIYs that I've shared with you today, then please show me some love by subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, giving me a thumbs up,
commenting, or even sharing this video with anyone that you think might enjoy it. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!